With 7 games to go, we sit mid-table, 10 points away from the European places and 13 points ahead of the relegation zone. So as it looks like we're set for a second season in Ligue 1, we'll use this time to plan. I've decided to release 9 players and trigger the 1-year extension for Batu Benfica that it turns out he has. If I'd known that before, it would have saved a lot of issues in previous episodes. Benjamin, on the other hand, doesn't want to talk about the new contract, and as a rotation player, I'm not too fussed about that. But it does mean we are going to have to bring in a load of new players in summer. But maybe telling players they're leaving now is bad for morale, as we ended up losing 2-0 to Nice. But at least my scouts are recommending me players for next season that we can most definitely not afford. Brian Moreno scored his first goal in 13 hours of game time as we eased past Auxerre 2-1, and then he got injured for 2 weeks. Although I'm not sure he would have stopped us losing 4-0 to Lens. Despite the result, the board asked me to sign a new 4-year contract, which I gladly accepted. Robert Navarro's loan spell ends in injury during a 0-0 draw with Toulouse. His 2 goals and 3 assists will be sorely missed. Gonzalo Estevez picked up 2 yellow cards to get sent off as we beat bottom of the table Brest 2-0. Brian Moreno assisted the first goal and scored the second to aid his case to be our starting striker next season. So we head into today's episode 8th in the table, ahead of Rennes on head-to-head record. We've got the Rhône derby coming up first against Lyon before we finish the season against Nantes. I think overall it's been a pretty good season. If you told me at the start of the season we could be finishing in the top half of the table, I'd have bitten your hand off, especially after that really poor start that we had. 8th is the highest place we could finish this season, as Cafro's free kick is delivered into the penalty area, cleared, but only as far as our players, as Belic is the furthest one back. What can he do with this one as he looks to recycle possession and get it forward to try and open up the scoring here in a derby? Lyon is the big city, Saint Etienne is not too far away and is much smaller in comparison, as it looks like Mitrovic just stood still and let the keeper collect the ball. So as I was saying, we could finish as high as 8th, we could finish as low as 12th, I believe, if we lose all our games and everyone else below us wins. But I think that is a solid performance for our first season. Since we switched to the 4-3-3 Gegenpress, things have worked out really nicely for us. So I think we'll stick with this as our base formation for next season, but I think we might need to make a few tweaks to it. It just doesn't feel right playing with the default Gegenpress that the game gives us. But we've got to half-time 0-0, and that's a pretty decent result for us so far. Lyon have way more resources than we do and should be winning the game, really. However, we are almost scoring from a corner. I thought we were about to take the lead. I think we've built up a really good starting 11 this season. As we start to go in towards the backup players, I think things drop off a little bit, which is why I was so happy to just let go of so many players in between episodes when the option came to me to renew contracts or let them go. So we are going to have to bring in a whole host of players over summer, like I said, as we unfortunately concede a goal to Lyon. Now, from the starting 11 right now on the pitch, Appiah is leaving, but obviously he's starting today because Gonzalo Estevez is suspended. But the rest of that back line of Vallejo, Jose Marsa and Fontan, they will stick in the team next season. I'm pretty happy with the back line, and one player that I just don't know what to do with is Brian Moreno, who just gets his goal here to level things up. I don't think he should be starting for us next season, but actually his numbers are pretty solid. That's his 11th goal of the season in all competitions. I think it's his 9th in the league, and he's also got 7 assists in the league as well, so he's got a whole bunch of goal contributions, which can't be sniffed at, really. In the meantime, Lyon are trying to come forward on the hour mark, and Jose Fontan can't quite get a defensive clearance in there, but we did hold up Lyon just about. Ball in the middle, Rayan Cherki's there, goes over absolutely everyone, and Rayan Cherki, the wonder kid, can get it back in the area, and it's a nice goal, to be fair. So back on to Moreno. He might start next season, but we do have to bring in another striker, because I don't think Devine is cutting it. I think we try and send him out on loan to develop next season, or potentially sell him. Obviously, Cafro, we've let him go from the attacking midfield, so we're going to have to bring in a new right winger next season, which could be a mistake because he's currently on a 7.3 rating right now, and Mitrovic, who we are keeping, is on a 6.3, so that's something we might need to look at a little bit for both wings next season. And to be fair, we don't have many players on the wing next season, so actually someone could come in to replace Mitrovic as well. And then in the midfield, we've not spoken about that, but Belic, happy with him starting, but we need a backup. Pablo Martinez, happy with him starting, but we need a backup. And then on the other side of midfield, we are letting go of Koba. I say letting go, he's going back to his parent club after his loan spell. I think this goal might just be offside. I don't think it's going to count, Oh no, disallowed. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he was quite obviously offside there in the end. And so with Koba going back to his parent club, we need to bring in a replacement for him and a backup. So we end up losing 2-1 there, but again, I'm not too fussed. It's the end of the season, not a whole lot to play for us. Leon has still got some European places to play for, and I'm more interested in talking about the team for next season. So to show you the gaps that we've got for next season, I'll go through the squad planner. I am happy with my 2 goalkeepers, Etienne Green to start, and then Gundouz as the backup. That's fine. Currently, with only Gonzalo Estevez available to play right back next season, so we need a backup to him because I want him to play a lot because he's got such high potential. Right centre-back, we are covered with Jesus Vallejo and Dylan Batu Benfica. Left centre-back, we could do with a bit of work. Now, Jose Marsa will start, and Jose Fontan can play at left centre-back, but I'd rather him play at left-back. And then we do have Bastian as a young player behind them, but I think he has to go out on loan to play regular first team football. He's not quite good enough for Ligue 1. So actually there is a situation where we get rid of both of those two and it's just Jose Marsa. So we probably should do with a backup left centre back because Fontan and Vaclav are going to be playing at left back next season. In the CDM spot, it's just Belic. We need someone else to come in to be backup to him or potentially overtake him. Left midfield playing as a Carrilero, we have got Pablo Martinez and of course Maris that we brought through in January. He could play, but again, I'd rather him go out on loan. So it's unlikely he'll be in our plans next season unless something really bad happens. And he's also in our plans for the right-hand side of the centre of midfield. Again, though, we need to bring in 2 players ahead of him for that position next season. Left wing, we do have Mitrovic and Ahmed, although I don't know how good Ahmed actually is these days. We may look to get rid of him and bring someone else in. We need 2 players on the right-hand side. Now, we do have Ayman Aki, who we know is a wonder kid for us, but he's not quite developing out on loan as much as we want him to. So I don't think he'll be starting next season, probably out on loan for another season or 2. So 2 players there are needed. And then in the striker role, Brian maybe should start. Divine has not done anything for us this season. He'll be out on loan or sold. And then we've also got Sankara, who we brought in a couple of seasons ago. Now, his finishing is great, his pace is great, acceleration is great, but composure is pretty low, and he's not looking quite the prospect I thought he was going to turn into, despite making caps for the Ivory Coast. Been out on loan in the second half of the season to Grenoble in the division below us, only scored 1 goal in 11 games, 6.68 average rating. I think he needs another loan in Ligue 2 before we bring him into the first team. So really that does mean another striker probably coming in. So as you can see, a lot of work to do. I guess we'll find out after the Nantes game how much our budget is going to be for next season, but I don't think it's going to be much, so we are going to have to rely on free transfers and players in on loan. Or we sell Jose Marsa for his £20 to £23 million valuation. He's a very good player now, regarded as a leading Ligue 1 player, which probably isn't quite as impressive as it maybe sounds, because I think leading Ligue 1 is probably way below like a leading Bundesliga, La Liga or Premier League player. So heading into the final game of the season, it looks like Rennes won their game last week, so they go ahead of us into 8th place. We sit 9th right now. If we win, we could go as high as 8th, or we could drop down as low as 12th. It would be nice to finish in 9th place to be in the top half. Oh, immediately there could be a red card immediately for Nantes. Well, that will hopefully make getting the win easier. Now, I actually do want to talk about a potential other option that we've got. Now, if you saw on the main channel, the rebuild we did with Everton, turns out we made a pretty decent 3 at the back formation. And I would be tempted to use that next season, but it does use some very different players to the players that we currently have at the team. And so that would really need a bit more of a rejig. Also, we just scored a really nice goal. Was it Mitrovic who scored that? Let's just watch that again. It was from a free kick, wasn't it? Mitrovic, the completely open man, just takes his shot and scores easily. As I was saying, though, there is the option to switch up to a completely different formation, but that will require us to sign a few more centre-backs. For goodness sake. Well, I just missed that goal because I was talking and then messed up my words, let the game play on, and then we scored, and now I look like an idiot for not being able to talk over a goal. What I was trying to say was the 3 centre-back option is a little bit risky because I like to have 2 players for each position, so that would lead to us having 6 centre-backs. But then if we don't end up using the 3 centre-back formation, we're playing a 2 centre-back formation instead, and then that's a lot of centre-backs not doing an awful lot, and we're paying a lot of wages to them. So I don't... A 5th centre-back could maybe help us out a little bit, and that could offer some cover if they can play like right back and left back, and then maybe that lets us play a 3 centre-back option with a few backups available if we need them. So there is options for it, of course. As Cafaro gets a wonderful goal there to make it 3-0 in 30 minutes. And that does put us ahead of Rennes, who are currently losing, I believe. Although I can't... Oh, they are losing 1-0 to PSG down at the bottom there. So this is looking good for an 8th place finish, which actually would be bloody mental, all things considered. I had no expectations to finish in the top half this season. I thought we'd be battling relegation all season, particularly after those first few games of the season. But as it turns out, this has worked beautifully for us since switching to a gegenpress. And apparently, this is the formation that these players love to play. And it works quite well against most teams in France. Remember, we drew against PSG. They've only dropped, I think, 6 points this season. I don't think they've dropped points since we drew with them. So they've done we did so well, to get the result against them. I don't think this goal will count because I think Moreno was offside in the build-up and he did touch the ball. So we'll wait and see what the referee says. But 4-0 at half-time would be a wonderful way to see out the season to our home fans. And the goal is disallowed, but 3-0 is still pretty good. So maybe what we should do at half-time is just make a whole bunch of changes. You can see I've not been rotating much in these past few weeks. Let's bring Batu Benfica on, and let's bring on Benjamin for what could be his final appearance for the club, actually. That's quite sad. Actually, let's undo. Let's try and give a few people their final appearances for the club. Briançon, it's going to be your last game, so you're going to come on at centre-back. And then we'll also bring Florian Tardeo on, your last appearance. Come on and enjoy it. Benjamin, your last appearance. Come on. Everyone else will be here next season, although Divine might not be. So let's bring him on to show the fans what he's made of. Ahmed will likely be here, I suppose, and I'd rather give Bastian some game time because he's not had much recently, so let's give him the game time instead. We're treating this game like a friendly. Imagine how embarrassing this must be for Nantes right now, as they're just seeing 5 substitutes happen at half-time as if it's pre-season. But if we score more goals, that'll be even more embarrassing for them, as Mitrovic does that exactly. You love to see it. Let's not talk about the fact that he has scored 50% of his goals this season in this game, and he has been playing as an inside forward all season. Not sure he was the greatest of signings. Maybe it took him a whole season to bed in, and we'll see this sort of game from every single time next season. That's, you know, what I'm hoping for, I suppose, as Lafont makes an easy save there. Koba with a corner. It's going to be his final involvement this season. Of course, he goes back to his... I can't remember where we got him from, actually. I think it might be somewhere else in France, but I could be completely lying to you about that. But Koba has been really good. If we got the option to sign him on a permanent, I think I would take it. He has been one of our better players this season. As Lafont punches clear, go on Tardeo, go on Florian, go on Benjamin. I wanted one of them to score a screamer to end their career at the club, but they haven't been able to do it. To be fair, I do want to keep Benjamin as a rotation option, but he just doesn't want to sign a new contract at the club. So we'll see what happens with him over summer. He may decide at the last second he wants to keep his contract at the club, sign a new one as a rotational player. Although, if he wants a whole ton of money for that, I think I'll let him go. He's not the sort of player that I think is going to win us a League One title, so I'm not too fussed about letting him go. It's just handy to keep him because it means bringing one less player in next summer, and it keeps a little bit of squad harmony together and a little bit of squad cohesion together. As Quinton Merlin, a player I would love to bring into our club because he's a very, very good player, gets an assist. But as the clock ticks down, we have won this game 4-1. We finished in 8th place in the table, which is phenomenal. And that is a very successful first season in Ligue 1. Imagine if we got ourselves sorted out earlier. Maybe we could have been pushing for that top 7. To be fair, we are 9 points off Marseille and then our whole 16 points off Lyon. Maybe we wouldn't have been, but we might have been just a little bit closer. Right, and now we need to wait and see what we are going to get budget-wise next season. Oh, and the message is here already. Board set initial budgets. Wow, okay, this was a lot more than I was expecting. £350,000 a week in wages and 15 million on transfers. So that only actually gives us an extra £16,000 in the wage budget, which isn't much, so we might adjust this slightly so we've got more wages to spend. In fact, I'll probably just do that now. Bring this down to more like 11 million, and then we've got £86,000 in wages to spend. So I have been trying to prioritise players who have got contracts expiring at the end of the season, and according to the stars from the scouts, the very best player is this guy, who is an attacking midfielder, which of course is a position that we don't play, but he can actually play pretty well as an inside forward on the left-hand side with his very strong right foot. Although his physicals are a little bit low, like pace is quite low, which I think we need more of that in this division. There's also a guy here at Ferencváros, Adama Traore, not that Adama Traore, unfortunately, but he is wanted by Marseille and Nice and West Ham. So maybe he would be quite handy. Although saying that, we don't really need anyone on the left-hand side if we've got both Mitrovic and Ahmed. It's the right-hand side we need to prioritise. So I need to really filter through all of this, to be fair, and get a better idea of who and what is available. I mean, Raul Jimenez is available, but he's 34 years old, so I think he's probably a bit past it now. Ramadan Sobhi, though, is available. Now, he can play left and right wing as an inside forward on attack, which is quite useful. He is Egyptian though, so that is excluded by the African treaty that France have with Africa to bring in African players and treat them as EU players. So that would probably mean letting go of Ahmed to get him into the team. So we do need to do a little bit more work on the scouting side ahead of next season. Oh, but someone like Arnie Meyer would be great to bring in. This is the sort of player we need to be looking at. He's not quite as good as Koba though, which is a little bit frustrating, but maybe we have been spoilt with Koba this season. It's Valencia we got him from. Valencia, okay. Oh, there is an optional future fee of 5.5 million. I just don't think I can quite justify spending 50% of our transfer fee on him though. He is really good though, and he will get slightly better, and he had a very, very good season for us. But surely we'd be able to find someone as good as him for less? But if we can't, do we then do it? Our under-19s this season finished third in their league, which is not bad going. And our second team missed out on the 4th division title. Now, they couldn't get promoted, so it didn't really mean much. But they missed out on, it must be head-to-head record, because they've got a better goal difference than Lyon too. But now they have finished their season, it gives me a chance to reset the teams. Because right now, this is a mess, and it's full of players that just will never make it. So I'm going to move every single one of them to the under-19s. I'm going to sort it by potential ability, and everyone with 4 stars and above, I'm instantly moving into the second team. Everyone else here, your time is limited. In fact, if we go to our first team as well, what we could do is also move into that team Bastien as well. Then if we sort it by current ability, like players like Bastien, Ayman, these two will have to go out on loan next season and not play in this team. They're probably too good for this division. Yeah, they are. They're leading players for the National League, which is the 3rd division, so playing in the 4th division is a waste for them. I don't think we can send a 15-year-old out on loan. That doesn't quite seem right, but he can play at this level. So basically, those 2 players probably are too good for this level. The rest of them can play at this level and will play at this level. And they've even just gone through and just sort of built the team out of players there with the highest potential sorted first, pretty much. Ayman and Bastien were sent out on loan, so they won't play, but everyone else can sort of fill in. We might look to bring in a couple more of these players. We may promote a few players who have got some high current ability and 3.5 stars of potential, but I want to put more emphasis into this team and start a progression of players into our first team. But as all the commercial money comes in, hopefully, I looked at the finances, 22 million. That's not a bad position to be in. And maybe we could end up getting more money as well, because there are some players of ours that are wanted heading into the transfer window. Pablo Martinez is one of them, wanted by Strasbourg for maybe 11 to 14 million pounds. That's his valuation right now. And Etienne Green is wanted by Southampton and PSG, but his valuation of 9 to 10 million just seems too low. I'd want at least triple that. So we are currently laying some good foundations, which gets me very excited for season 3. Hopefully, it all works out and we can bring in the players we need to keep progressing.